Welcome to another edition of M&A Unpacked, the weekly show where we bring on experts in MSP M&A, case studies from those who have gone through or are going through the process, and top M&A and business minds to help you get deals done faster and maximize the value of your MSP, whether you're buying, selling, or just trying to improve your business. And today I'm joined by Christian Fulmino. He is Senior Vice President, Head of Corporate Development and Mergers and Acquisitions at Dataprise. He came to Dataprise in 2022 with 20 years experience in the buy-side M&A. Now, Dataprise is a private equity-owned MSP. They were bought by Trinity Hunt Partners back in 2020. Christian, so pleased to have you on the show today.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I would love to hear more about your journey in M&A. How did you get to where you are today?
Yeah, absolutely happy to share. Started my career in media, actually. So working in larger publicly traded businesses. I spent about 10 years at News Corporation, a few years at Broadridge. So working on transactions in the publicly traded space, much different, much larger transactions. Generally buying from a board of directors as opposed to buying from a founder, which is a very different discussion. Boards of public companies tend to be very focused on one thing, maximize exit value. If you beat the next buyer by 10 cents a share, it's yours. The last second half of my career has been more private in the private equity world, and really most of those have been buying from business owners and founders. And that's a much more dynamic discussion. And of course, everybody wants to maximize the value of the business that they spent their career building. But there's also other things that are on the table. They do care about what's going to happen with my people, what's going to happen with my customers, what's going to happen with my brand and my legacy. So I find those discussions and those negotiations to be just much deeper, just pull on a lot of other areas in addition to the financials. And it tends to be much more of a collaborative, ongoing relationship. In the PE world, most of the time the founders are, at least in my experience, coming over and being part of that next part of the journey. So it's not like you're going to buy it and then you walk away. It's not you're not buying a car where once you drive it up the lot, it's yours. We all need to now work together to do what we set out to do and take 1 + 1 and make it 3 or 4 instead of 2, right? So I've really enjoyed this kind of second half of my career, doing more of the PE backed acquisitions and working with business owners and founders.
Awesome. And tell me about Dataprise. What do you guys do that's different than other buyers, and who are you guys?
Yeah, so you mentioned Trinity Hunt. So Trinity Hunt acquired the company from the founder. So up until 2020, we were a founder-led business. Up until Trinity Hunt's involvement, I would say a strong regional player. In the Northeast, our company's headquartered in Rockville, Maryland, which is just outside of Washington, D.C. And prior to Trinity Hunt and really going on this expansion journey, our business existed from Washington, D.C. through New York City. So that was kind of the region that we played in. 95% of our revenue was in that region. So that really was Dataprise. MSP, probably at that time more focused in the SMB. Today we're roughly 50-50 SMB and mid-enterprise. And can talk a little bit more about that. So when Trinity Hunt came in, like a lot of founder-led businesses, we did a lot of things really well. There were some things that we didn't do at all that we felt, well, if we want to take this from, a good-sized founder-led business to, several $100 million of revenue down the road, here are some things that we ought to have. And we looked at that across, well, what should we build versus what should we buy? And that's kind of where M&A and my team, came about. And then from a geographic expansion perspective, so we have done 7 deals since Trinity Hunt got involved. First 3 were really around completing our technology stack. So we bought a mobile device management solution. So one thing the pandemic certainly highlighted was the importance of mobile device management. Every business in the country had to figure out how to go from a lot of them all in office, to some combination of hybrid, remote. The number of mobile devices that needed to be managed was certainly on the rise. Usually more devices than employees, with everybody having at least a laptop and a phone, maybe a laptop, a tablet and phone, and so on. So that was our first acquisition and the first piece of our technology stack that we really added through acquisition. Prior to Trinity Hunt, we did not have our own in-house cyber solution, so we resold, lots of the vendors that are out there on the market today. Again, we felt as we got to size, we wanted to have our own SOC and our own NOC and do cyber in-house. That was a build for us. So that's actually spent a lot of the pandemic kind of prior to getting into acquisitions, because they were hard to do and you couldn't visit anybody and nobody was in the office. We spent a lot of time building out our cyber capabilities. We had a backup business, but we really felt where the industry was going was disaster recovery. Backup's great. You have a copy of your data, but if you don't have an environment to stand it back up in, you're still shut down. So we bought a company called Global Data Vault. They are the third largest Veeam partner in the US. They're based in Dallas, serve mostly mid-enterprise clients around the country. That was at the very end of 2021. And then our cloud solution, because we were mostly SMB at the time, our cloud solution was kind of SMB focused. And as we started to do more business in the mid-enterprise space, we knew we needed to upgrade there. We bought a company called AirNet, based in Tennessee, Microsoft Gold partner, and really uplifted our cloud capabilities to serve mid-enterprise clients. And that was kind of beginning of March of 2022. From there, our focus shifted to, okay, we have this built out technology stack now. Let's look at geographies and where do we want to be? How do you go about taking a Northeast regional player and building a national footprint? So we did 4 MSP acquisitions in our first year of acquiring MSPs. One was in Los Angeles, a company called Reboot. Second one was in Houston, a company called RevelSec, which was both a kind of MSP and MSSP. We bought a company in New York City named Cohere. And our most recent acquisition was in Denver and Boulder, called PEI. Actually have a deal closing probably in about a week, hopefully May 1st, but it may stretch a day or two on either end of that, in kind of expanding into North Carolina. So we're continuing on that road. Our model is to build out regional offices. We appreciate the importance of having a local presence, especially in the SMB and even in the mid-enterprise space. Business owners are doing business with MSPs that are in and around their region, right? People that if they have to put someone on site, they can. Business owners that they know and can meet with. So our model is very much to keep those regional offices in place, and help them grow faster. What we bring to the table that often, founder-led MSPs don't have is a real go-to-market team, a true marketing engine that can provide, marketing qualified leads to your salespeople. So your salespeople are out there closing business and not cold calling. A team that can design regionally specific or industry vertical specific marketing campaigns and really help grow the company. We will take some of the corporate stuff off of the business owner's plate. So, we'll do things like finance and HR and legal, accounts payable, vendor management. We can do all that at the corporate level and create cycles for that local management team to focus on, doing what they do best, great customer service and growing the business.
So let's talk about the MSPs that you're looking for. I want to get into deal structures, but if before we do that, if you're talking to a community here of Kaseya,
Yep.
The Kaseya community of sellers and buyers, and there's a lot of them out there. So
Sure.
they're all listening here. Who is the perfect MSP for you guys?
So all of the deals that we've done have been founder-led businesses. So, there are some smaller MSPs that are already PE backed that are coming to market, and we may take a look there as well. But the bread and butter for us are the founder-led businesses that have grown, in their city, in their region, and are looking to be part of growing something larger. From a size perspective, that's probably 1 million of EBITDA to 5 million of EBITDA tends to be our sweet spot. As MSPs kind of get over that 5-6 million of EBITDA threshold, they tend to think more about, I can be a platform for a PE buyer, versus I'm going to join a platform like a Dataprise that's, and be a regional office and grow there. We are looking for founders that want to be part of the growth story, and our structure, and we'll talk about structure in a minute, but our structure reflects that, right? We're looking for founders to come on and be part of growing Dataprise. So if we're talking about who, ideal seller is someone that wants to do that. If someone's kind of out of gas, work their entire career and looking to retire and go fishing or play golf or pick up a new hobby, that might not be the best fit. We are looking for business owners that still want to grow, still want to be part of a growth story.
So let's talk about deal structures. What do they look like for Dataprise?
Sure. So for us, all of our deals are structured as part cash and part equity rollover. Equity rollover is taking part of your purchase price and investing it in Dataprise, into the acquiring business. And all of the companies that we've acquired have been structured that way. For us, all 7 of the deals we've done have been somewhere between 60 and 80% cash at close and 20 to 40% of equity roll. Really just depends on the seller's appetite, maybe where they are in their journey. A younger owner that is more years from retirement may have an appetite to roll a little bit more. Someone that's a little bit later, may want to roll less, but they've all been in that range of kind of 20 to 40% of the purchase being equity rollover.
So from the rollover structure, what differentiates one from the other?
Good question, Mike, because I think it's one area that business owners may not have had any experience dealing with, or the cash part's kind of self-explanatory. But on the equity rollover piece, if I'm a MSP owner and I'm talking to different buyers and evaluating my options, make sure you understand what you're getting, what you're rolling into. A good example is, do you have the same class of shares as the private equity investor who's going to have the bulk of the shares in the company? So for us, the answer to that is yes. We have a single class of stock. Anybody that comes on through an acquisition is getting shares with the same rights, as Trinity Hunt and all the other owners that have sold businesses and rolled some equity. There are others in the market that the PE firm, the original investors, have a preferred return where they may make a 3x return before the other owners get to participate in upside. Obviously, if you can get to a place where you have the same rights and there's no preferred return for the original investors, that creates a whole lot more alignment. Right? Everybody's in this exact same boat. And that's what we want to create. That's the whole purpose of equity rollover. Giving business owners an opportunity to get a second bite at the apple. Most PE firms, they have a window, but a defined time that they're going to hold the business. So when you roll equity, it's not like, well, I'm rolling equity and this is a unbounded forever type of thing, right? Within a couple of years, a private equity company is going to need to exit, right? Because they have a fund. That fund's going to close. They're going to have to return money to the investors. Most businesses at this size are going to go to another private equity firm that's going to look to take that company on the next part of the journey. And as a business owner that's rolled some equity, that can generally be a very profitable. It's great to be able to invest beside private equity investors. They do very well. They outperform the market most of the time, right? So this is I think it's a great opportunity. I think finding that right mix of cash at close, taking some chips off the table, but also having a meaningful equity rollover piece that you're now part of a larger growing organization. You're you're still a business owner in that you now own a piece of a much larger business. And you're incentivized to help grow that and get another liquidity event down the road.
So that's really interesting, as and maybe other folks listening to this, the MSPs who've been doing this for a long time know to ask those questions, but I would have never known to ask about different kinds of stock, right? What are some other questions if there's other things that are in there that folks might be wanting to ask that they might not be aware of asking or that they should ask?
Sure. Yeah, I would do your own research on the private equity company themselves. So understand, when did they invest? So when did they get in? Might give you an idea, right? Not an exact date, but an idea of when they may be looking to exit. How long are you tying up that rollover equity piece? Because unlike a publicly traded company, that equity is not liquid. That equity is locked up in the in that new business until there's a liquidity event, and that's going to be controlled by the private equity company. So understanding where they are in that journey, and ask that question. They're not going to have a date, but they'll probably have a general idea of, we've been in this for 3 years. Our typical hold time is 5 to 6 years. That gives you a pretty good idea of where, could they exit earlier? Sure. If they get the right valuation, the market takes off. Could it be later if there's they get to that 5th year and the market's slumping? Sure. But it's not going to be double. It's not going to be half, right? It's going to be somewhere in that window.
So I'd like to talk to you about mistakes, pitfalls. What do you see sellers do that they shouldn't do or not do that they should do?
So I think one thing sellers ought to do is make sure that they understand what the integration plan and strategy is for the company that they're, thinking about selling to. And, does that align with what they want to do for the next couple of years? If someone doesn't have a integration plan that they can really lay out for you and explain to you, here's what we want to do, here's what we do immediately, here's what we do in that first 30, 60, 90 days, here's what we ultimately may want to get to. If they can't lay that out for you, they may not have a defined plan. And if they don't have a defined plan, you may have 3 steps forward, 4 steps back, trying to figure out the mix that works. That's not a great experience. From my experience, both here and earlier in my career, working with a firm that's got a plan that they can articulate and that you agree with, because you're going to be part of implementing it. That's going to give you the best kind of post-close experience. Just as an example, if I already mentioned for us, keeping regional offices in place, the importance of local presence, that's a huge thing for us. That's something that we are going to outline as part of our plan. Hey, that office that you have, like, we want to build that. We may get you new office space as we grow because you outgrow that space, but we're not looking to close office spaces and do everything from DC, from our regional, from our corporate headquarters. If someone else's plan is, well, we don't think we need a local presence, we service our customers remotely, and you were hoping to keep your staff and office in place, you have an alignment problem there. So understand the integration plan. Everything from what are you bringing to the table as a business that's joining, and what are they bringing to the table? Because again, the idea here is that 1 + 1, if 1 + 1 = 2, there's not a whole lot of value in doing the deal, right? You want to get to a place where 1 + 1 = some greater number, and I think that's important to know. Be careful with earnouts. We don't do a lot of deals with earnouts. We very rarely will do an earnout. In my experience, if what you're looking to do is maximize growth of the total combined business, earnouts can become a very big distraction because it creates a scenario where the person that's on, that can benefit from the earnout, the seller, becomes very focused on whatever metric that earnout is measuring, and that's generally the performance of their piece of the business. But you're now a shareholder in the larger company. That's really where we want your focus to be. And we don't want, well, I don't want to do that piece of integration because it may not help, pick a regional office. It may not help my Arizona business. But if it's what's best for the entire company, and you're now a shareholder in that entire company, you get to a point where the goals of that earnout don't necessarily align with the goals of the combined organization and your goals as a now a shareholder in that combined organization. So I'd be very careful about earnouts. They're fine if they're short in duration. If you're, for example, let's just say you just closed your largest customer ever, so that they're the revenue and EBITDA from that customer is not really reflected in your financials because you just closed them 2 months ago. You're just getting to the place where you're onboarding them, so your financials may not reflect the fact that you have this new customer that's materially changed your business. So yes, if you were to build an earnout around that, just say, okay, we get it. We can't value the company as something it doesn't have from its financials, but let's show the success of onboarding that customer, and we'll pay an earnout down the road. It's not that they don't have their useful purposes, but generally speaking, we try not to do earnouts in these deals because we really want business owners focused on let's grow the whole company. How do we do that best?
So before you talked about the ideal MSP for you, size wise, EBITDA wise, and what about the smaller guys who aren't there yet and they want to get there? They're looking at maybe a couple of years. What should they be doing in their business to get to that point?
Yeah, healthy growth, I think, is the most important, right? Any sophisticated buyer is going to see through, doing a bunch of project work, doing a bunch of resale work, and trying to mask that as true MSP managed service recurring revenue. So grow, but grow healthy. Grow in the piece of the business that sophisticated buyers are going to value the highest, and that's that managed service, recurring revenue component. Look, we all do projects. We all do hardware resale. We all do license resale. The best companies do that for their managed service clients. If you're doing one-off projects for customers that are not your managed service customers, there's not a lot of value in that for a future buyer, because that's one and done stuff. That project's over, they're gone, right? So sophisticated buyers will see through that. So just make sure as you grow, you're focused on growing in a healthy way. A business that's growing the recurring revenue portion of their business 7, 8, 10% a year is more valuable than a company that's growing 15%, but it's all projects and resale. You got to grow the piece of the business that everybody's interested in. Understand that at some point you're going to have to put these financials, in front of a buyer. So we all get it, right? As a business owner, you may run expenses through your company that if you were selling the company this year, you would want to say, well, that's not a real expense. Yeah, my son's on the payroll, but he doesn't actually work here. Or my spouse is on the payroll, they don't actually work here. Or, well, yeah, that car is for my service techs to go to customers, but that's my car. That's not really part of it. So that is what it is. Have really good detailed records of that. Be able to reconcile. If you're asking a buyer to not consider it a certain expense, be able to reconcile why it's not a business expense and why it's just, hey, this is what I did as a business owner kind of thing. It's not a bad thing. Every company we speak to has something in that category. But the best run businesses can clearly articulate it. And not just for this year. If you're selling, you can clean it up for that year. But being able to show a little bit of history on those add backs and things that are not really business expenses goes a long way. If you have a roadmap to an exit strategy, think about the projects that you're doing. Think about things that most buyers are going to bring to the table themselves. For example, let's just talk about financials. So most MSPs that I talk to in that size range that we talked about, they're on QuickBooks, and that's fine. Are you going to get any value out of moving from QuickBooks to a more sophisticated financial system? You might, as a business owner, if you're going to scale the business on your own, but anybody of scale that's coming in as an acquirer, they're going to have their own financial system. They're going to do that integration. So you're kind of you're going to end up doing it twice. If you do it the year before you sell, so you can say, oh, I have the sophisticated NetSuite, financial package. That's great, but if I'm on a different system, if I use Microsoft Dynamics, I'm still moving you. I'm not keeping two financial systems. So just think about where those corporate type projects. If you're kind of on a road to exit, which ones make sense, which ones are kind of revenue growth creating, and which ones are just, hey, this is probably getting replaced by a bigger buyer. Maybe I one other thing. A management team, a team under the owner that's got real responsibility, that's scalable. If everything runs through the business owner, there's only so many hours in the day, right? I can give that business all the sales and marketing power in the world. If nobody else in the organization's empowered and used to being a leader, it's harder to scale. Right? You first have to get them up that curve and then start scaling. So think about developing that next level of people underneath you, because that will speak to a buyer like us that wants to help you grow. That will speak to the scalability of your business.
Last question for you. I think you know very well that there's ebbs and flows in the market. We touched on that before. We're almost to the halfway point of 2024. It's hard to believe. What's your prediction going forward into next year? What do you see? We've got an election year coming, a lot of crazy things happening. The news cycle is always doom and gloom. What's your prediction?
I think the MSP industry is very interesting in that we can provide value to our clients in both up and down markets. So, in a down market where, especially in the SMB space, when you're in a market that's down, where your customers may be trying to shed costs, you can go to them and say, look, I can help you take costs out of your business by outsourcing your IT. I can do this more efficiently than you can by having, your own IT staff, on staff at your company individually, just working on your stuff. In a growth market where your customers are growing, it's a similar value proposition, but it goes more like, I can scale with you. You don't need to worry about adding new internal IT people to keep up with your 15% growth, because I'm doing that. I can help you scale. I can bring things to the table that you couldn't do with your own in-house staff. The best cyber people don't want to work at one individual, Main Street business. They want to work for a company like Dataprise, where they're going to work with 200 Main Street businesses and get to work on cutting edge stuff and design and monitor systems across different industries. Like that's, so we can not only do it more efficiently, we can scale it faster, but we can also attract better talent because we're providing that environment that is just more dynamic for people in that IT space than working at any one individual's small or medium-sized business would be.
Well, thank you very much, Christian, for being here. I'll see you in a couple of days. We're recording this the Friday before we leave for Connect Global. Unfortunately, fortunately, this is going to come out after Connect Global. But I'm looking forward to seeing you, and we'll probably do some live streaming from the sponsor Alley. And thank you so much for being a sponsor of Connect, by the way.
Absolutely. We're looking forward to the event. Get in touch with me through LinkedIn, through the Dataprise website. I think my contact information will also be here on the YouTube channel. Really look forward to connecting, regardless of where you are in your journey. If you're early on and just want to ask some questions or bounce some ideas, happy to do that. If you're later in the journey, we'll have a more accelerated conversation and get to it. So looking forward to meeting everybody, either virtually or at upcoming events.
Well, thank you again, Christian, and for everyone watching, we thank you, and tune in every Monday on the Kaseya YouTube channel for another episode of M&A Unpacked. And hey, if you're not yet a member of the M&A Concierge platform for MSPs, make sure to apply today. It's an amazing platform, 100% free for both buyers and sellers. See you next time.